So, the reason why I waited a little bit to talk about day one raid recommendations was because of this catalyst for the South Helix grenade launcher right here. Now, this right here is a very good weapon. Okay, I'm going to throw 5 major shanks on the field right here, and you can just load a whole bunch. Oh, wait, that's right, I have to insert it first. Forgot about that. Well, now that it's inserted, I can take this and load some super grenades into it. All right. And as you can see here, I have 5 right here. So I can either fire them out instantly, or I can charge them and it'll increase the blast radius and the damage. And as you can see, with it just by itself, it can just chunk down people with big health bars. And every single time you get super, you can load more grenades. And you can just position yourself around here to hit all of them at the same time. At least if they don't exit the blast radius. So, as you can see right there, it is very good for dealing with ragers, and as you might have noticed, my ammo count has not gone down one bit. This isn't because of some kind of deal with the weapon range, like supplying me with ammo whenever I press the ability charge, because as you can see here, I can just load it more at 5 out of 14, and boom. It's still going to be 5 out of 14, no change whatsoever. So, these super grenades are spawned out of thin air whenever you load them. So, since they only take 50% of your super energy, and Wolf has a 70-second cooldown, that means you get 5 super grenades every single time you reach 45 seconds. And what's more than that is that you can load these, wait for your super to recharge, and if you haven't used them, you can dump, and then you can charge again and dump the next magazine. And this can be really good in terms of damage. So, I mean, I can showcase it right here, load the super grenades, and I can take the amount of targets I have down here to 1, because I already showed just how good they are at taking care of a large group of high health enemies. So if we go over and put the unlimited health modifier on, we can now place that guy down, and we can see right here that it's dealing 5,000 damage per hit. And this is still a very low level wolf. So it's dealing about like 5,000 DPS right now with just those super grenades. And if I reset here and dump them without doing the charging whatsoever, I can deal a lot more than 5k DPS. It'll reach about 10k DPS at this current level. So very high burst damage. However, once you reach that burst damage, or once you dump all the super grenades, you will have to be doing the normal charge ones, which will not be dealing nearly as much. But if you have 2 supercharged, you can dump all of them, do the special reload again, and then dump all of them again. And as you can see, that is a nice, pretty sum of damage right there, especially in such a short time. But that's not even everything going for it, because Wolf has his debuff. So if you debuff the enemy, you'll get multiplicative weapon damage on top of that, and it'll increase its damage even further, so long as you're able to get them all dumped in the debuff time duration, which you will be able to increase your debuff time duration if you have a certain attribute equipped, being the vulnerability bonus, which will increase the effects triggered, or increase the damage or strength of its effects, and also extend its duration the higher tier you make it. Additionally, Wolf will get a talent in the future that will naturally increase its duration. I believe it's right here. Yep, the 5th node right here will increase its duration to 12 seconds, and will also cause it to deal even more damage. So this will only get stronger with time. And it will be a really good option for the day 1, because in these first 2 encounters, you are going to be dealing with a lot of high health enemies that are going to be really tanky, as well as blast shinkas in the very first encounter. So having a weapon like this, where you can constantly generate ammo and deal damage to large groups of enemies at the same time, especially if you can combo it with Wolf's debuff ability right here to deal even more damage, you can see why this will be a very good option, and Wolf as well. However, Wolf is also not the only character that you would want to use. While his burst damage is good, obviously it will fall off a lot more when you get down to the normal super grenades, because as you can see here, you're dealing about half the amount of damage and DPS that you would dumping one of these magazines compared to the super grenades. So you might want to look at other units. For instance, Tan2. If I can upgrade Tan2, I can showcase reasons why you'd want to bring him as well, especially for a boss damage scenario. So Tan2, even though he will not be able to have access to an exotic like certain other characters such as Wolf or Caber, he does also possess certain advantages, mostly due to his kit. So for instance, he will have access to his super, which will be a large damage increase. As you can see right here, I'm dealing 614. I pop the super at level 8, and it's all gone all the way up to 700. And this will buff the entire team's damage. And if we activate his weapon mastery right here, giving Phosphorus, not only will the fire rate increase, but also the damage will increase further as well. So as you can see right there, with the super active and with Phosphorus active, Tan2 was already dealing about as much damage as just doing the charge shots for the Satya Elixir grenade launcher. However, swapping to the sniper rifle, and this will only be better once you get a mythic sniper rifle, if you are able to get a mythic sniper, but you can see here that he's dealing great amounts of DPS and will also be able to deal significantly more total damage than the Satya Elixir grenade launcher will be able to do. So for the final encounter specifically, where DPS and total damage is very important, Tan2 will be a top pick. However, character that you might not be expecting to be necessarily good for the final encounter and for encounters throughout the raid is actually Caber. So Caber actually has a little bit of a reputation for just generally being not as good as other characters, potentially. However, in this early stage, Caber has a large advantage that other units don't, and that's being able to equip an exotic weapon. Now, right here, we'll be able to see the damage that this will be able to do, just right here to the Major, and it ramps up and it's dealing a very respectable amount of total damage and DPS for a primary weapon. And because this is a primary weapon, you can be doing this against every single Major and chunk them all down. And that's not even mentioning his other abilities, like his shields, which will be able to protect you, this, which will be able to blind enemies and deal large amounts of damage. So Caber is going to be a very good general use unit for a lot of the encounters in the raid, and may even help you in the final encounter, especially if you may be struggling with damage and hitting total damage if you run out of your heavy weapon DPS options. And the final characters that I will be recommending to bring into the raid will be Gwyn and Yolder, and they will largely provide the same benefits as each other. But the reason why I recommend this is because you'll be dealing with impact Shinkas. I cannot show them in the practice range right here, but you'll have to get up close to them, and you'll have to use your close range weapons to them in order to deal damage and break down their shields and stun them. So once you get them stunned, Gwyn will probably have enough of her Void Souls charged, like this, to deal a large chunk of damage and hopefully burst them down instantly whenever she breaks those shields. Additionally, her super will also be very good when it comes to taking care of Majors and other groups of enemies. Because we can see here, you get all of those Void Souls instantly, and it will deal a decent sum of damage with the entire thing. So for the fact that you'll be dealing with Impact Shinkas and Void Shields alone, the characters such as Gwyn and Yolder will be good. Yolder may have certain advantages over Gwyn because she will be able to help out when it comes to damage and also defending her allies because of her own toolkit, though she may not have as good of total damage or DPS as Gwyn might, due to the fact that Gwyn has a lot more of her damage in her abilities compared to Yolder, who will be focusing a lot more on her weapons. So in this early stage where we don't have access to as many exotics or mythics for this raid, Gwyn might edge her out, even though Yolder can provide more support. However, both of them will be able to fill the exact same roles. Additionally, for the second encounter specifically, and even some of the first encounter, Ningfei might be a good choice because you'll be dealing with arc shields in the second encounter, and you'll also be dealing with large groups of ads. However, that doesn't matter as much because you will have access to Wolf, and you will be guaranteed to get the Satya Elixir Smart Bomb with the infinite ammo generating catalyst. So if you don't have Ningfei, you can largely replace his role with Wolf, and find the exact same amounts of success for those encounters. How do you get the 2 talent-free upgrades like they said? Shinka training is up in the training grounds right now. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I can showcase those. So, right here, the Impact Shinka that I was mentioning. So, we will be able to see here, you have to get close, and it will showcase that the stun efficiency against the Shinkas will be lowered when you're using a non-impact weapon. So as you can see here, it's taking a while to take down the shield as Ningfei. However, when it swaps this over to Gwyn, it'll showcase just how good or quickly she'll be able to break them in comparison. So you can pull out the shotgun right here, bam, 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 and you can just use your Void Dance right after, and abilities cannot damage Shinka shields. So, you can showcase the challenge right here, defeat all the Shinkas, do the Void Dance, he's done and dealt with. Okay, so it will take longer to do with the sidearm, so it might not be as good, but you can do the Void Dance again. I didn't have as many shields, but again, you can use the super, and that's going to deal with the rest of him, and pop out of the super, because you cannot use ability damage against him. In fact, I can showcase right here. Well, I kind of just teleported through him, but if I do my Void Dance, nothing. So you do have to damage them with your weapons in order to get it and get the Void Spirits. Boom. Burst him down like that. The other Shinkas you are going to have to deal with are the Spread Shinka and the Piercing Shinka. I don't remember if the Rapid Fire Shinka was available or was showcased in them, but the Spread Shinkas will definitely be in the first encounters. So these guys can be kind of troublesome to deal with, and it's why I recommend bringing some wolves with you, because look at this. You have to shoot all these around. It's definitely not as bad to deal with as the Impact Shinkas. However, it can still be a time loss, especially when you're comparing like a 2 to 4 second stun to just watch this right here. Okay, I guess it was spawning in, but watch this right here. Boom. He's just instantly stunned like that. Rapid Fire Shinkas featured in the second encounters, the servitors, the Vans, Caber, and Ningfei present. Yep, so you will need to bring Wolf, Caber, or Ningfei into the second encounter in order to deal with those servitors. And let me tell you, if you do not bring your Rapid Fire weapon to those encounters, you will get messed up. Okay, the Rapid Fire Shinkas are no joke, and the Impact Shinkas are really bad to deal with as well. Maybe not as bad as the Rapid Fire ones, but definitely... you definitely want to stun them with as high efficiency as possible, because all of the damage that you will be taking on the day one will be amplified because of the low light level that we will be stuck at. So I can showcase the Rapid Fire Shinka here. Does a faster time give more rewards? Not in the Gauntlet Onslaught, but in future endgames like Calamity Ops, being able to clear it faster will give you more rewards. So you can see here that even with a fast-firing weapon like Tantu's Rapid-Fire Scout Rifle, it's still going to take quite a while to deal with these Shinkas. So, swapping over to somebody who has Rapid-Fire Proficiency, like Ningfei, you'll be able to see just how much quicker it goes down. Yeah, so comparing those stun times, especially to comparing the stun times of a lot of the other Shinkas, you can definitely see why a Rapid Fire Shinka could be such an issue. Especially because they're going to be attacking you all the while. And trust me, you do not want to be taking these guys' attacks head on. But you can see right here that you can kind of burst them down with a lot of your abilities, if you want to preserve ammo. What's the min level power to do the Gauntlet? You will be level 50. Okay, and I don't believe that there's a minimum power requirement outside of being level 50, but you're obviously going to want to get as much power as you possibly can, because each power increase will increase your damage and decrease the damage that you take. So the Precision Shinkas are probably the easiest ones to deal with outside of your preferred damage type, but they will also be hitting you with these retaliation swarms. So if you don't have cover available to you, they can very easily take you out. But generally, the marksman Shinkas will be a lot easier to deal with compared to other types. Though you will want to be bringing Pantus for the final encounter anyway, so the piercing Shinkas will definitely not be as much of an issue compared to the other ones where you might lose or you might not build your teams correctly. But as you can see here, it's just instant. So that'll definitely help out a lot in your day 1 clears. Or your clears in the following days, but those will obviously be much easier. But you can see here, you can break those and immediately just burst them down. And I can pop that, get phosphorus active, get even more damage and fire rate. And just done like that. So that is why you want to match the damage types for the Shinkas and to bring people on your teams to be able to stun them. Now, when it comes to anything else you can bring into the Gauntlet Onslaught.
You might be interested in this one.
When the next day resets and the power level raises, we will have access to Heroic Strikes, and we will have access to the Heroic Gauntlet Blitz. Now, I know it'll probably be tempting for a lot of you to hop straight into the raid, but my biggest recommendation is to hop into Gauntlet Blitz and spend as much pinnacle energy as you can, especially if you're going to be bringing a character like Gwyn or Tantu, because it won't showcase it here right now, but we can look in the inventory to show you the types of weapons that you will be receiving from the Gauntlet Ops loot pool. And this includes the Rapid Fire Scout for Tantu, which the perk you are going to be looking for this one is Allocation Vector, but obviously, even if without it, a mythic weapon is always going to be better than a legendary one.
I have enough energy.
You will also have the Rapid Fire Scout available, and you will also have the Rapid Fire Shotgun available. So getting all of those options will be really instrumental in helping your teams. Additionally, if you're playing Yolder instead of Gwyn, you'll have access to getting the Makeshift Ending Sword, which will also help you out. There's pretty much only 1 or 2 drops that won't really give you much benefit, and that's the Pulse Rifle and the Linear Fusion Rifle. But since that's 2 out of 6 drops that can't potentially give you a benefit, I feel like that's a pretty good deal. Especially compared to the Strike Engrams, which you'll largely only be getting some stuff like Submachine Gun and Auto Crossbow. So if you're planning on bringing Ning Fei, this might be a good option for you. This could also help you get a weapon for Caber, but you're largely only going to be using the Exotic Pulse Rifle for Caber. If you are bringing him, I probably wouldn't recommend bringing Caber without the Pulse Rifle. Ning Fei would probably be a better choice than Caber if you don't have the Pulse Rifle. And you also have some options here, but they largely won't be better than the other ones that you'll have available from the Gauntlet Blitz loot pool. Additionally, doing the Gauntlet Blitz will give you more XP and level you up and give you more power levels for the raid. So making sure that you've spent all of that, gained all the XP that you can to get to the max level cap for the day will put you at a larger advantage. How do you get that rifle for Tantu? Oh yeah, I just answered the question. And the last thing that you could possibly do to help you out with the raid is getting particular artifacts that could help you with certain perks to increase your damage and survivability. So we can take a look here in Singularity Chaos. You will be able to look through all of the different artifacts that you have available. So for Caber and Ning Fei, the rapid fire perks right here, hitting the same target 5 times will grant the drawn weapon increased rate of fire until the magazine is emptied or the weapon is reloaded. As you can see, comparing this to the exotic perk for the Furious 3 Pulse Rifle, this directly benefits it and will also help Caber. Additionally, this one, reloading after the previous magazine lands at least 10 hits, grants damage bonus. So this is rate of fire bonus, this damage bonus. It's going to make it so that Caber is dealing even more. For Wolf, the one perk that you're going to be looking for is Explosive Shell. This will give increased blast damage and blast radius to the Sati Elixir grenade launcher, directly buffing it. However, there are other options here that could be better than the spread one, because this one is reliant on hitting multiple targets at a time, so it may not be as good for single target damage if you're bringing him for DPS. You could instead bring gaining an overshield grants a 20% damage increase bonus for 6 seconds. So if you pop his enhanced skill, giving the enemy the debuff so you can deal more damage, which is what you should do, or popping his Wolf Strike beforehand, which will also give you an overshield, this will give you a damage increase. It'll be stuck at 7%, but it will be the most consistent one that you can proc for Wolf. You could also use Jolted Transit, where the drawn weapon deals 7% decreased precision damage, but increases the body shot damage, and I believe this will help with the grenade launcher. I haven't tested this yet though, and it will also debuff your auto rifle, so keep that in mind. You can also bring casting any ability will increase damage dealt for 10 seconds, so this could be another alternative to the overshield one, even though it will be a slightly lower damage percentage, but it'll last longer and be more consistent than getting the overshield, so you can keep that in mind. And that's most of the ones that are relevant for Wolf specifically, as it pertains to damage itself. When it comes to Tantu, you can get this one where you'll deal extra damage while stationary, but deal less damage while moving. It's very, very consistent, but might debuff you. But when it comes to the DPS scenarios, you won't have to move around, especially if you have a bubble, like Yolder would. So this can be a good DPS increase. Additionally, you can also bring the Talisman of Unity, where healing a target healing a target to 100 health also increases their damage for 6 seconds. You can throw down his enhanced skill, get yourself his weapon mastery, and buff the entire team like this. So this could be another large DPS increase for the entire team. And I believe there is one for piercing weapons, specifically precision weapons. Yeah, right here. Shots fired while stationary gain accuracy and precision damage. So this will be another one similar to before. So if you're hitting precision shots like you should with Tantu and staying still, then this will be good. For this one over here, well, this one you probably wouldn't want because you're probably going to be very, very close to the target. Let's see, what would be a good one for Tantu? You can bring the casting signature abilities grants a damage bonus, or a weapon damage bonus. So you could pop his ability, buff the entire team with the healing one over here that I mentioned earlier, the Talisman of Unity, and this will also give you a weapon damage buff. And when it comes to Gwyn and Yolder, for Gwyn, you can do casting a signature ability will increase the damage of the next signature ability, since you're likely going to be getting more damage out of her abilities than you will from her weapons, at least at this stage of the game. And obviously getting the overshield would be good for Yolder as well. And let's see if there's an impact one. Yeah, Jolted Transit, the drawn weapon deals less precision damage but more body shot damage. So especially when you're holding a sword, this will be very, very good as a unconditional damage increase. Here, this will be good for Yolder because she will be able to constantly protect you with an overshield, and you can stack this all the way up to 10 times. So you pop her bubble, and that will be a large stacking damage bonus. Additionally, you can get a damage bonus while protected by an overshield, though it's largely going to be about the same percent. And if we take a look at the impact one right here, when this, you wouldn't want this one, okay? I'm just gonna be straight up. This one is bad. Do not pick this one on either Yolder or Gwyn. But for Gwyn specifically, I believe you can see this ability one right here, dealing damage to targets within a 15-meter radius, grants signature ability damage bonus. So when you're dealing with the impact Shinkas, like I said, you can take them out with the sidearms, or you can blast them with the shotgun, and that will give you the souls for Void Dance. This will also be giving you more damage for that Void Dance. You can do it and burst it down, hopefully defeating it in the process. I believe that's most of the damage relics worth mentioning. As it pertains to the healing and damage resistance relics, you can largely look through these and find which ones work best for your character's toolkits and also work best for your playstyle, as they will matter a bit less, but again, definitely don't neglect them. However, the damage ones are obviously going to be a lot more important, especially for the final boss. Now, I believe that is everything that is worth mentioning for the raid itself at day one. As a final point for this video, I will going to tell you all that you do not need to sweat the day one if you don't want to. The day one clear is for bragging rights only. The event is going to be lasting throughout the entire week, all the way up until the 8th of September. Every single day after that, you'll have options to gain more gear, more powerful gear, level up your characters more, and it will become easier and easier as every day passes. Me and my team will additionally be doing carries all throughout this period, so if you are looking for that in the future, be sure to tune in, and the people in my Discord will have first priority, so if you want to have your best chance at getting in on that, be sure and join. But you will get all of these rewards so long as you complete it within that time period, so you do not need to sweat day one. Additionally, this raid is also not going to be that important when it comes to bragging rights because it's the very first one. We are very underkitted. A lot of the best weapons that we have available are going to be very RNG dependent. There could be people who get a really good mythic weapon who will that'll just carry them a lot better than people who don't obtain that. I'm hopefully giving you all the best advice to prep as well as you possibly can for this challenge. So with that all out of the way, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.